UK as well. So whether that travels into a separation for them, let's hope not, because there are two children at stake here. And
contrary to the headlines that painted them as ultra-wealthy royals turned Hollywood elites, the reality is far less glamorous. Prince Harry's fortune, mainly from Princess Diana's inheritance, is modest by aristocratic standards.
Suggestions that Meghan has been going to a few parties recently without Harry, and he's been at home.
Stepped away from royal duties, he lost the privileges that came with the firm, like taxpayer-funded security, royal residences, and official support. Meghan, on the other hand, envisioned a luxurious life in California. Think yachts, glam galas, and A-list status. But what they got instead was a multi-million-dollar Montecito mansion with an even bigger mortgage. The pressure to become financially independent quickly pushed them into the commercial spotlight. The Netflix deal, the Spotify podcast, the book tour, each promised to sustain their new lifestyle. But many of these ventures stumbled. Harry's memoir sold well initially, but couldn't uphold long-term momentum. Meghan's podcast was quietly dropped by Spotify. Even their production projects under Archewell barely made a dent in entertainment circles. Meghan's pursuit of luxury now reportedly includes billionaire social circles, charity events, networking dinners, and private summits where money talks louder than titles. For a woman who married into royalty, financial independence should have been a dream. Instead, it's proving to be a full-time hustle. Once the face of a modern fairy tale, Meghan Markle is now becoming a symbol of overreach. Her Hollywood projects, crafted to reinforce her empowerment image, are now being mocked for lacking authenticity. A Netflix cooking segment went viral, not for its inspiration but for its awkward delivery, with critics calling it Pinterest parody. Behind the glam aesthetics, the substance seems to be missing. What's worse, Meghan's carefully built brand, based on activism, elegance, and intellect, is losing credibility. Her stories, once compelling, now feel recycled. Even close insiders note that her narratives are becoming stale, with one infamous soap commercial anecdote being mocked by high-profile personalities like Brooke Shields. As Meghan's brand suffers, Harry's public image has also taken a hit. Once seen as the rebellious royal with a heart, he now often appears as a tag-along in Meghan's projects. His own voice, especially on issues like mental health and military service, feels drowned out by the louder branding machine of Archewell. Critics say Harry looks like a man out of place, stuck between two worlds, longing for the heritage he left behind but too far into the California life to return. Public appearances show him smiling, yes, but often reserved, distant, or even awkward. Meghan, meanwhile, remains center stage, which only deepens the perception of imbalance in the relationship. As the dust began to settle after the couple's departure, Prince Harry found himself at a crossroads, torn between two worlds. On one side was his duty to the crown and the family legacy he was born into. On the other, the life he was building with Meghan and their children, far from palace walls. The rift between Harry and his family grew deeper with each public revelation. His memoir, Spare, painted a raw and often painful picture of his upbringing, exposing inner conflicts and unresolved trauma. While some applauded his honesty, others viewed his disclosures as a betrayal. Behind closed doors, tensions escalated. Prince William, once Harry's closest confidant, reportedly felt blindsided and hurt. The brothers, once inseparable, now appeared as distant as ever. Harry's relationship with King Charles III also seemed strained. Attempts at reconciliation were rumored, but often fell apart amid lingering mistrust. The public watched closely, wondering if the royal family could ever truly heal. Despite the turmoil, Harry remained firm in his choice. He prioritized his family's well-being, advocating for mental health awareness and continuing philanthropic efforts with Meghan. Though the monarchy stood divided, Harry's story became a symbol of resilience, a prince redefining what it means to serve, not by bloodline, but by purpose and conviction. As the dust settled from the explosive Oprah interview, the world watched with bated breath. The royal family, known for its tradition of silence, released a rare statement. The issues raised, particularly that of race, are concerning. While some recollections may vary, they are taken very seriously and will be addressed by the family privately. But for Harry and Meghan, the damage was already done. The couple had lifted the veil on an institution that, for centuries, operated behind closed palace doors. What followed was a deepening divide, not just between Harry and his family, but between public opinion and the monarchy itself. Polls across the UK showed a generational split. Younger people largely stood by Harry and Meghan, while older generations remained loyal to the crown. Behind palace walls, tensions escalated. Prince William, usually composed, was reported to have said, "We are very much not a racist family," in a brief exchange with the press. Yet, insiders hinted that the brothers were barely speaking. Their once close bond, forged in the aftermath of their mother's tragic death, seemed fractured beyond repair. Meanwhile, Harry's relationship with his father, King Charles, remained strained. Though Charles expressed love for his son publicly, sources suggested private conversations were rare and frosty. Meghan, too, felt the weight of public scrutiny. Though she had stepped away from royal duties, the media's obsession with her hadn't faded. Paparazzi followed her in Montecito, and tabloid headlines continued to paint her as a divisive figure. In the midst of this turmoil, the couple focused on building their new life. Their media company, Archwell Productions, began launching documentaries and podcasts. They spoke openly about mental health, family, and identity. Yet, even as they tried to move forward, the shadow of the past lingered. This saga isn't just about fallout. It's about transformation. Harry and Meghan weren't just surviving, they were evolving. But the question remained, at what cost? And would reconciliation with the royal family ever truly be possible? As evening descended once again, a quiet tension hung heavy in the air outside the hospital where Prince Harry remained. The crowd of well-wishers had grown, with people holding signs, candles, and photographs of the Duke of Sussex. Many stood silently, united by their concern and love for a royal who had so often walked a different path. Inside the hospital, sources claimed that Prince Harry was awake and responsive, but doctors were still hesitant to give a full diagnosis. Their careful approach suggested a combination of stress-related symptoms and underlying physical conditions, possibly exacerbated by lifestyle habits and emotional burnout. While not life-threatening, the situation was being treated with the utmost seriousness. Back in Montecito, California, where Harry and Meghan reside, staff and close friends were reportedly coordinating with royal aides in London to manage both media fallout and internal family communications. Meghan, unwavering in her role, remained in the UK, refusing to leave Harry's side until he was declared fit to go home. The royal family, however, still had not visited the hospital. King Charles, reportedly in Scotland, sent messages of concern but chose not to make a public statement. Prince William, though concerned, remained silent as well. Analysts believe this silence speaks volumes about the emotional distance that still exists within the House of Windsor. Meanwhile, media outlets continued to dig deeper. Questions emerged about Harry's use of anxiety medication and whether the pressures of fame and unresolved trauma were catching up to him. Some critics pointed fingers at the monarchy, while others defended the institution, insisting that Harry had long chosen his path away from it. Still, amidst the chaos, one thing remained certain. Harry's vulnerability had once again reminded the world that even those born into privilege are not immune to pain, pressure, and personal battles. And as the world watched and waited, it hoped, not just for Harry's recovery, but for healing in the royal family itself. As we draw the curtain on this 5-part journey into the life of Prince Harry, it's clear that his story is far more complex than headlines can capture. From his early days as a young royal living under the shadow of public scrutiny, to the rebellious years of personal struggle and controversy, Harry has always attracted the world's attention. But it's in his transformation, stepping back from royal duties, choosing love, and seeking a more grounded, personal life in the US, that we see a man determined to live authentically. The relationship with Meghan Markle not only reshaped his identity, but also challenged centuries-old traditions within the British royal institution. Facing criticism, emotional battles, and even estrangement from his family, Prince Harry has chosen a path that prioritizes mental health, personal happiness, and freedom over formality and duty. Whether it's through explosive interviews, heartfelt speeches, or charitable endeavors, Harry continues to make headlines, not as the royal spare, but as a man forging a future on his own terms. His journey has been full of lessons about resilience, self-awareness, and the price of truth. Prince Harry's story isn't just about royalty, it's about the power of choice in a world that often demands compliance. Whatever comes next, one thing is certain. The world will continue watching as this once reluctant prince carves out a new legacy, far removed from the palace walls where his story began.